Hello again, everyone. This is Will here at 5 Minute Digital Recording Tips. We were speaking earlier about drum programming in the context of trying to create a realistic drum pattern, one that might be played by an actual drummer. And we talked about the three, we'll say, essential requirements that I would deem necessary in order to create something that could, fool the average listener. The sound of the drums obviously is key. The velocity at which the drums are hit and also the timing in terms of where on the grid the hits are. So obviously a drummer won't play like a machine, so he won't hit all the drums the same with the same velocity each time, and he won't adhere to the grid exactly. So we got to try and kind of mimic that with our drum programming. So if we open up our drum program here, we'd started this morning, and let me blow this up so you can see it. Okay, we had after we had programmed everything and we'd done a little bit of velocity work. The next thing, and if you haven't seen this, maybe it would be wise to go and maybe look at that video first before you come back to this one. So here we have once we had dealt with some of the velocity issues, we wanted to talk about the timing issues. So in this particular beat, I'm trying to create a sort of a lazy feel. So I want these. This is the snare here. I want this snare to kind of almost be a little bit behind the beat. So I've moved it. This is the grid here. This is the downbeat of the two. Um, and if a machine was playing this, he'd be playing it right on this line here. So I've pulled this drum back very slightly, and I've pulled the hi-hat with it. And if we go up a little further to the next snare, here it is. Again, you'll see I'm probably a little too far. Oops. I'm probably a little too far there. So I'm going to move that back slightly. You got to take snap off, obviously. You do that one. Okay. And then the next one is here, and this is again, it's probably too late. We'll move the hat with it as well. And then we've got one more here somewhere. Here it is again, probably a little too late. I mean, you just want. I mean, and again, you use your ears for this. Obviously, it's one thing just looking at it on the screen, but you actually have to hear what it sounds like. So once we have that done, the next thing I like to do is I like to go back to the actual hi-hat pattern itself, which is down here, and move these off the grid, just a hair. So blow it up nice and big, and go through them. The first one you can leave on maybe, and again, just take a sort of a haphazard approach to this, but keep in mind that I've actually moved some of these already, as I can see here. So as you can see, all these hats, I've moved them all pretty much off well, I've left some on the grid, but I've moved a lot of them off the grid in no particular order, just as I see it. I mean, they all seem to be ahead, but maybe I'll push this one slightly, I should say behind. I've moved this one a little ahead of the beat here. So let's have a quick listen to where we're at so far. Okay, good. Now I'm going to do two more things with this beat really quickly if we have time. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to put a little flam on the snare. So I'm going to go to my half edge snare here, and I'm going to just put snap on for a second, and I'm going to just draw in 4 snares underneath the main snare, okay, like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the snap off, I'm going to blow it up, and I'm going to move these snares off the grid, okay. And what this is going to do is it's going to make the the actual snare hit kind of flam, sort of, which is a great sort of little moment in a drum beat where an awful lot of the rhythm can be sort of created. So let's have a quick listen. I think I could actually maybe flam it a little more. Again, use your ears. Maybe just come up a little bit. finally, I want to put a little ghost snare in. I did one earlier, so I'm going to just go right here. So if you notice, oftentimes with the drummer, when he hits the snare drum, he'll leave his stick on the snare, and then just as he's about to take it up, before he hits the snare again, he will create what's called a kind of a ghost note. Again, it's barely audible, but contributes an awful lot to the overall groove of a song. So let's have a listen. Okay, let's hear. That's actually sounding pretty good now. Let's hear that with just a little keyboard pad that I put in earlier, and hear what it sounds like. Oh, oops. Okay, so the ghost note for me is a little loud there, um, but that can also be a sort of a taste thing. Um, it's a little better. Oftentimes too, what I will do is I'll program the drums first, and then I'll go off and I'll actually record a hi-hat live in the room. It's a great way of, or even a ride cymbal actually is another one I use a lot. And either then mix it in with the programmed hi-hats, or actually just use instead of. Again, it's an excellent way of giving what's a programmed drum beat sort of a human feel. Shakers, live tambourine, anything live in the room adds that human quality to the programmed drums. So there we've delved a little further into drum programming. We'll go deeper in the next tutorial and get into some other areas of drum programming. But this is a good a good introduction. So hope it was helpful. Any questions, you can email me. This has been Will here at 5 Minute Digital Recording Tips.